conversation to have is if you're coming into your marriage, maybe as an interracial couple, or you're both getting married and you grew up in different countries, or you grew up with different ethnic backgrounds and you come from different cultures. What you're going to have conversation around is, what are you bringing into your relationship? What are the traditions? What are the cultures? How do people interact in your culture and ethnic background, your race? How do people interact in such a way that is going to be different from your fiancés? And what are expectations that you're each bringing in to the relationship that are coming from how you were raised? And so you want to make sure that you have these conversations. I think it's really important to make sure that you talk about these things ahead of time, because a lot of times we enter in, and we can go back to the expectations conversation, and that was around household chores and those types of things, and our attractions and how we step out into the world. But I think this deserves its own conversation. My wife is Canadian, I'm from America, and we grew up in two different cultures. I know it doesn't feel that way if you think of Canada and America and you're like, oh, it's about the same. It really wasn't. We grew up in we had very different backgrounds in many ways that we still uncover today, and we're more than a decade married. And so the same is really true if you come from two different races, if you come from two different ethnic backgrounds, maybe two different parts of the world. What are the traditions you're bringing in? How do you expect to do holidays? How do you expect to integrate your faith into how you interact? And we've already talked about that as well. But write these things down. I want you to, especially if you come from different backgrounds, what I want you to do is I want you to take out your piece of paper again. I want you to take your pen, and I want you to write down the expectations you have. I want you to write down what mattered to you growing up. What matters to you about your culture that you want your children to embody, to embrace, for them to become part of your generational lineage? What matters to you? What's important to you? Make a list of those things individually and then share them with one another. Because if you don't talk about them, sometimes we just assume that our fiance is going to know because they know us and we interact and we have all these things. But sometimes we don't even know. We don't even know what was important to us until we enter into that marriage and it comes to a head, because now we're talking about the holidays, or we're talking about a particular cultural tradition that we have, and our spouse now has no clue and doesn't even want to make sure. It's like that minimizes the power of it. When it's something that really, really matters to us. It's an experience that was deeply ingrained into who we are. How do we make sure we have conversation around that? I think it's incredibly important, especially if you are an interracial couple and you're going to have children. Those conversations have to be had. I just think it's a beautiful thing. If you come together from two different backgrounds, two different races, like, it's a beautiful, as you make that list, these are joyful things to celebrate, joyful activities, traditions that you want to bring into your marriage. Make sure you celebrate one another's wishes. Make sure you have fun with it. That's why this is an important conversation, because it's a great way to honor not just your fiance's past and wishes and expectations, but it's a great way to honor your future spouse's family and traditions.